I'm going to show how to replace the fuel pump on a 07 X-Star LY6 motor. I think it's all the same fuel pump for just about everything, but can't hold me to that. The fuel pump, or the way I determined that my fuel pump was going bad, was I pull the cowling off. The cowling comes off pretty easy, and then over here is a fuel pressure gauge. So you're going to take this, Schrader cover off, and then you're going to get a snap-on fuel pressure gauge. If you don't have a snap-on one, you can pick one up from Advanced Auto. They have a $40 one. So we thread this onto the Schrader valve. And then we snap that out. And then we let the engine prime. And it shows that it has 50 psi on the fuel. As I start the engine, you'll see that the fuel pressure goes down. Fuel pressure steadily drops off due to the fuel pump can't handle maintaining the pressure. So this is how I isolated that the fuel pump was bad and the engine stalls because it's not supplied with enough fuel. These again, they're like not the Snap-on brand, but a fuel injection gauge. It's about $40 from Advanced Auto. I just had a mechanic buddy that loaned me one. The fuel pump is going to be here under the middle seat. You're going to pull the tray out. You can pull the tray out, and the fuel pump's going to be located right here. I'm going to go ahead and get everything set up, and then the video might be a little spotty, but we'll go through the replacement of the fuel pump. Okay, so the first thing I did was I disconnected the batteries. So the batteries are both disconnected. Next thing we got to do is we got to take off the line so we can pull the pump out. So I'm going to remove this clamp, and there's a little clamp in here that you have to remove, and then you need another tool from I picked this one up at O'Reilly's. Alright, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this hose clamp, remove this screw holding the fuel line in, and remove the wire assembly harness here. So that's going to come off here. Try not to break it, because Mastercraft wants a ton of money for it. There we go. Just set that off to the side. Okay, so this little clamp here, it was on the hose. All you got to do is peel back this rubber hose. You have to peel back this rubber hose, and then it comes up on the backside first, and then you have to move it forward out of the lip of the gas line here, of the fuel line. Next thing we got to do is we got to get the fuel, we got to get the tool in there to disconnect the fuel line. Easier said than done from the people at the auto parts store. Only one side of it. I gotta get the whole thing. Which we might have to grind this baby down just a little bit. Alright, so let me modify this tool on a bit. Alright, so now we start the arduous process. Oh, you might want to stop throwing things around. Disconnect the sending unit. disconnect the sending unit so everything comes apart nicely. All right. Actually, that doesn't matter. Oh, my mistake. Oh, video editing. So now we start the arduous process of removing all these. So I'll be back. Okay, so all the screws are all taken out. We're going to slowly lift this assembly out. There's a bunch of fuel sitting in it, so somehow you have to drain that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bucket so I could set this in a bucket, because I thought the fuel was bad, so I filled the tank way up, so now there's a lot of gas in there. So let me get a bucket and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to slowly lift this out because there's a lot of fuel sitting in the pump housing. So I'm going to slowly lift this out and set it in the bucket. It looks just like this. If anybody was wondering what this is, it's raining. Okay, let's go to the bench. Okay, so on the forum they say remove the 3 screws. So we're going to remove the 3 screws. 1 screw there. One. 2 screws there. And this should come apart like they say, which it does. Now on the forum, they also said that this hose, hopefully, which I do, I have the corrugated hose, which is good. So the corrugated hose doesn't kink. So let me work on getting these clamps apart. It looks like I got to take out these screws too. So I'm going to take out these screws and see if I can't get it more broke down. So move these. Hopefully the pump slides out. Okay, there's 4 on this box. Do those 2 matter at all? I don't think they do. Okay, I'm removing these 2. Looks like there's my pump, there's the filter, so this screw here is kind of blocking me pulling the pump out. So I'm going to pull this one out, verify that they're all the same size so I don't have to worry about, no, this one is shorter, so I'm going to make sure that the shorter one goes in there, and there's my fuel pump. Alright, so we're going to move this guy off to the side. He looks okay. That looks okay, so now this is the part that I'm going to replace. Now, I'm going to replace it. I got this from O'Reilly's Auto Parts. It's a E16047. They cross-reference with a bunch. It's a precision pump. The guys at O'Reilly, they weren't big fans of Airtex pumps. They said that they take a lot of them in return. So they visually look almost identical. I didn't want to open the package till I would confirm that they look identical. They say that this precision pump has a lifetime warranty, so if the pump does end up going out, I have to go through this whole replacement process, but at least I don't have to pay $700 for a new fuel pump assembly from Mastercraft, which makes my wife happy. Happy wife, happy life. Alright, so let's get all the parts out. Now the clamp that holds the fuel line on is not reusable. So in the forum they say that we have to break that clamp off, and they give you clamps. These look a little big. We'll see how it all fits together, but the pump does look almost identical. Just the terminals are in a different spot, but the large one looks like it is positive, and the small one does look like it is negative, so that's okay. So let me get a small screwdriver to pull those clamps off. Okay, sorry, we had a bit of rain. We had some rain come through, so I had to go make sure that the gas tank was covered up. Alright, so now I'm trying to pull these terminals off. There's got to be a trick to it here somewhere. I want to break these clips. These clips are in there pretty good. But I imagine they do just pull off. So I'm going to get some pliers. There we go. That's there. 2 clips, and then the fuel line. I don't want to break the fuel line. That's what I'm most worried about. See any splits in it, but trying to get it to come off of that barb is going to be a pain in the butt. Alright, let me work at that and I'll be back. Okay, so I got the fuel pump off. Here's the new fuel pump. We got to put the, I'm guessing this is for some form of vibration or something to hold it in the housing good. So I'm going to slide that guy on there because that's how it looks. It just slides onto the housing there. So we're in the same boat. Alright, oh, let's get this down there. Let's get that down on that housing. Good, just like that. I want to make sure that that guy's up there because this guy sits on that. If I did that right. Let me check something. Instructions. See if it tells me how to put the boot on, just in case. And then I want to put it on backwards, and of course. No. Of course it doesn't. Okay, but this is how this one looks, so I imagine they want them similar. Just like that. Oh, okay, just like that. Okay, so now I gotta put the hose clamp back on there. Hose clamp. Put that back over, which it does. It fit easily over it. You gotta tighten that down. And we want to make sure that the hose clamp is on there really good. There were some posts on the forum to where they had leak backs, to where if the hose clamp wasn't below the barb, the fuel leaked back into the tank. The pump was just kind of recirculating the fuel back into the tank within itself. Okay. Yeah, that's good and tight. Okay, good. All right. So then I'll put negative on the small one. Oops, I bent that little tab. Bend that guy back. back and make sure he's on there snug. Oh, that wasn't snug. What was that? It's a little better. I'm going to pinch these corners down. So he's definitely snug now. Or not. Alright, I don't need him wandering off. Much better. Okay, good. And get this guy back on there too. Good. Yeah. Could be a little snugger. Yeah, but she don't come off. Okay. Tight. Tighten. No. Oh. A little better. I don't want to bend it around too much. It's pretty soft. There we go. That's all right tight now. Okay. Okay, so now let's set that. Back this way. Get that pump back in there. Get that pump. The pump sits back in place. It sits just right inside a hole in there. That's about right. That's about what she looks like. Okay. Alright. Put those screws. Alright, so this shorty screw goes up here. Put that shorty screw back in there. Put these screws back in. My bad, my bad. These screws go here. My mistake. These screws go here. Let's make sure that I'm not putting them into the housing. I think it's supposed to go better with that. Pull it out. But these screws hold that little frame down. These screws hold the pump in the housing. That's what these do. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna replace the pump back in the same position it was. So here we go, slowly into the tank. Feels like it slides into some groove or something inside the tank. So when you slide it back in the tank, it rocks back and forth. So let me get all these screws back in, and then we'll resume. Okay, I returned the hose back on. I put the the wire connector back on, and I replaced the clip on the line. I had to re-pull the pump because the leak down test on it was failing. It kept losing pressure. What I found out was, if you read the forum, you got to put the clamp as close to the barb as possible to keep the tank from leaking down. I reconnected the batteries. I got a gas gauge right here. Back up. The gas gauge, the pressure gauge is here. This is what it should look like when you turn the key to prime it. It's maintaining about 40 psi. I'm hoping that's what it should be. When I run it, it runs at about 60 psi, and it maintains the level at 60 psi. So I got to do a lake test, and we'll see what it does from there. But $700 for a new pump, or $74 for a pump from O'Reilly's. I'm going to take my chance with the pump from O'Reilly's to start. I hope this video helped you out in any way, and then I'll put a link to the Team Talk forum so there's pictures and everything else.